What is up, RotoGrinders? Dean here. That's Dean 78904. Joined today. It's going to be a three-man booth in a second, soon enough. But we currently have Chris Kirkwood. Kirky's in a fire alarm issue, so he's trying to take care of that. He'll jump in when he's good to go. So it's going to be a three-man booth soon enough. Not messing around. Our last show, my last show at least personally, I think Chop as well. Of course, we'll have weekend shows. Last show before the All-Star break, which kicks in on Sunday. So Chop, it's just the two of us, man. You got to up your usage until we get Kirkwood back. How's Friday treating you? Things all good for you?
It's all right, Dean. I ain't gonna complain.
The kids are home, right?
Yeah. Man, what is going on with it?
Are you flustered?
Dean, I am, man.
Do you want to share why you're flustered, or is it not worth getting into?
I don't know what. Maybe the chat can chime in if they can see. Down here at the bottom of this, can I see that little corner that's not covered by the green screen? I got a little corner.
I see it. God, I see it on our screen. I don't know if it's officially on the YouTube screen or not.
Okay, I don't know, but I'm going to have to. That's getting on my nerves. So next time I get a chance, I'm going to have to take care of that. I forgot to pull the curtain back a little bit. But, Friday, it's been one of those weeks. So I always enjoy the Friday show. We know we're winding down the week, and the weekend is nice and relaxing. And this is particularly interesting because of the All-Star break. So we'll get basically, 4 or 5 days off of stuff next week. And I know that, by the first or second day, you're kind of itchy for it to start again. But it really is a good way to just relax and kind of take your mind off of DFS. The DFS can be a grind, so you got to be careful with it. And it's just a good relaxer there, man. So I'm looking forward to it and try to find some things to do in the meantime while we're waiting on the break.
Hopefully we close strong here, Chop. We got a few days to close strong and get out of here. But I think you mentioned in a previous show, is this the same time or it's a different trip? You said you're going to be going fishing at some point, or is that not there during the All-Star break? That's another time.
That's another time, not during the All-Star break. It didn't line up during the All-Star break this year, but so that's another time. But so that's even better. I prefer my All-Star break when I'm decompressing from DFS. I would prefer that. I can catch up on things around the house instead of okay, now it's All-Star break. All right away, I got to pack and get out of here and get on the road. And, I can't do anything at home. So I like to do some stuff around the house there during All-Star break. And I got a lawnmower. I already got a list. My lawnmower I'm fixing on Monday. I got to fix my lawnmower, Dean.
You got to do that? Like by yourself, or you got a guy?
No, I can do it by myself, Dean. All I got to do is, change out the air filter, see if that's the problem, because it's not turning over when I crank. I'll change the air filter. The spark plug. I just ordered another spark plug, got delivered today. And then if all else fails, I gotta lift the lid on the pull string and see if everything's functioning there. I'll get it running before the end of All-Star break, guaranteed.
Do you watch like a YouTube video, or you just gotta know this stuff off the dome?
No, Dean, it's not. You just figure it out along the way, man. Stuff like that.
Oh boy, did my video just go away temporarily because my second screen just went blank on me? So we're all sorts of rattled today. Hopefully it's going to kick back in a second. But if you lost my video, my apologies. I'll try to figure it out in just a second. Chop. I'm impressed. I mean, all that kind of stuff. Like I've been exposed on a previous show. Stevie never lets me at the end of it that I do not have I don't know how to change a flat tire. Chop. Is that embarrassing? Should I be embarrassed about that?
Kind of, but more so than that, what are you going to do in case of an emergency, Dean? You have to do it. And there's no AAA to call or anything like what if you're in a what if you don't have cell reception? What if you don't have cell reception in this? You're on one of those road trips that you like to take. You're in the middle of some place where the satellites aren't beaming down on you and you don't have cell reception. What are you going to do with a flat tire?
It did happen one time when I called a friend of mine and she came out and fixed it for me.
Whoa. Good thing Kirk's not here, man.
I knew that would get you, but that is a true story. Maybe it'll be like one of those breakdown situations. You ever see that Kurt Russell movie? It didn't end well.
Yeah.
But he broke down in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's not what happens. But by the way, is my video still all sorts of funky? Because I lost my second screen and I'm going to try to get it back in a second. But I'm afraid if I do what I'm going to do, that I might kick out of the room for a second. I don't want to do that either. So it's a tough call. And we should be getting Kirkwood in here shortly. He, of course, is under a fire alarm watch. Now, I guess can't you just like take the battery out for a fire alarm? I assume it wasn't officially like anything serious because he didn't seem terribly concerned. But
Can't do that, Dean. Can't do that.
you
If you
can't
take
take the
a
batteries out.
no, it'll still keep beeping because then it wants a battery in there, so it'll still beep. What you got to do, Dean, when the fire alarm. I'm assuming it's just inside of his house, and that it was like a piece of burnt toast or something. Is what I'm assuming. I'm
Sure,
hoping it's not a real fire or nothing. But all
obviously,
you got,
yeah.
you just gotta. If you could reach the battery, then this is perfect. You get whatever you were going to stand on or the ceiling. Get you a towel and just wave it. Like I have a little rag right here. Just wave it like this, Dean, in front of the fire alarm, and it gets the bad air out and kind of clears the air for it.
You are just full of life hacks today, man.
That's what life is all about, learning these things along the way, man.
I was, you got to create your own like TikTok channel and give the people life hacks.
I'm
sure nobody's thought of that.
You get enough pieces of burnt toast with 3 kids that you figure out how to. The worst, and the chat can back me up on this one. The worst is when you've got the fire alarms and the battery gets low, and I don't know why. I've said it before. I don't know why, but the battery always gets to that point where it needs to be changed at like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, of course.
It's unnerving, but that's the worst. But Dean, I got another hack for that if you want it. Like when that happens one time, just buy the batteries, buy enough batteries to where you can do all the smoke alarms and do them all with fresh batteries at one time. That way you won't catch the rotating battery beep every 2 months or whatever. They'll just all hit you. Once one hits you, it's time to change them all. So something like that.
Also, don't buy the generic batteries. Like, get yourself a couple extra months. Splurge a little bit and get I don't know, Duracell. What's number one these days? Well, the Energizer, I guess, is number one in the power rankings. I don't know as far as the gutless. I don't know who's gutless when it comes to batteries. Like maybe Kirkwood can chime in. We're still waiting on his gutless power rankings.
Amazon batteries got to be the most gutless, but I mean they're cheap, so you just keep on using them up.
Chop, big boy slate tonight. A lot of really good pitching. Not a lot of like super obvious offenses, I don't think. Well, it's pretty clear like who the good offenses are, and then there's everybody else. Yesterday I saw somebody in chat talking about the call in Baltimore. Yeah, Baltimore did me well. If Corbin Carroll would have stayed healthy and did something, that would have been nice as well. It was a nice night. It was a good night, profitable night, but we did not quite get there. We were creeping up in some contest, basically stacked up Baltimore in essentially every single lineup, but we got to find that team tonight, and I don't really have that team. I'm curious what yourself, and when Kirkwood jumps in here, I'm curious what you have to say. Boston is I don't want to say clear and obvious, but they have over a 6 total. Oakland did throw us a bit of a curveball with Sam Long's going to draw the start as an opener, the lefty. And it's funny. I thought that like they're going to start Medina and maybe Jaron Duran would get the hook at some point, but they are leading off Duran, which is interesting. So I assume that means he basically has a really good chance of sticking around the entire game. Duran now leading off for Boston. Long's going to go an inning or two or something like that. Then they yield to Medina. Otherwise, like we'll talk about the pitchers in a second. There's a plethora of good pitching options, and it's kind of tight. I think it's pretty compact. I'm curious to get your take if you have any strong leans. Sort of looking at lineups, seeing if anything that kind of gives it away. Maybe the extreme hitters umpire, the EHs, the easy to hit umpires, or the easy to pitch umpires, right? You'll talk about that, I'm sure. It's a Friday night, so umpire data is a little bit. It's not perfect just yet. The closer we get, then we'll figure it out. But probably all of it's not in just yet. But beyond Boston, there's Texas. Texas is going to be pretty popular. Cleveland's well positioned, but they're Cleveland, and I know you have your homer model, your propriety as far as collective number of home runs in the offense today. What is the number for Cleveland's collective number of homers in this offense? Because it's not a lot, and homers are good. You have that on hand by chance, Chop? Did you do the math on that already? Is the lowest
for the line that came out right before the show? I don't have, but for Cleveland, they came out earlier. It's not terrible, Dean. It's it is terrible. My bad.
It's terrible.
40 home runs collectively, 40 home runs. Which right now I'll refresh it here in just a minute and get the new lineups in there. But as of right now, it's the last place. Yes.
Yeah, there's J Ram, and then I guess Naylor and Bell have some power. Quan, it's just a speed guy. Straw is just a speed guy. I think we saw the second home run of the year for Jimenez yesterday, I want to say. Lynch is one of the weaker pitchers for sure, but unless you're just gonna bank on 15 singles and doubles and triples, I suppose you're taking the scenic route to get there. As far as your general overview, like Luis Castillo versus Hunter Brown, both those pitchers to me facing off against each other look phenomenal. They're two of my favorites. Zach Gallen is one of my favorites as well. And as far as price, Dave talked about this in his article today. Cheeseisgood. He'll be on later with TJ Zwarych and Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth. Speaking of TJ, you're going to want those Spidey bombs once he jumps on. So do hit that like button. Get it out of the way. Hit the like button, subscribe, turn on those notifications, do all those things, hit all the buttons. We do appreciate that. I don't want to say it's a pick 'em, but it's not necessarily salary. It's going to force your hand. They're all kind of sort of basically the same. Do you have strong leans when it comes to the pitchers? Or are they all kind of sort of in that one bucket of here's 4 or 5 good options? Where are you at? What are you looking at?
I do have some relatively strong leans for a Friday night. I'll say that, okay, Luis Medina got thrown in my player pool all of a sudden. I don't know what happened there. Let me get him out of there. He's not in there. So out of these pitchers tonight, I kept at this point 14 in my player pool. 14 pitchers. Doesn't mean I'm going to pitch 14 guys. I'll, whittle it down a little bit more as we go along here tonight. But 14 right now, I've got 4 guys that I've highlighted that I like, and I kind of like them. I kind of like these 4 guys a little bit more than the other guys. And those 4 guys right offhand or real quick, Zach Gallen, Luis Castillo are the tier 1 guys for me, Gallen and Castillo. Andrew Abbott is a guy that I'm going to be pitching a lot of. He's a tier 2 guy. And then the tier 3, I'm going to throw Justin Verlander in there. Now, it doesn't mean because I don't have Corbin Burns in a tier or Hunter Brown or any of those guys, doesn't mean they're not good pitchers. It just means that I am not necessarily they won't be as heavily owned as my 4 guys that I feel pretty good about: Gallen, Castillo, Abbott, and Verlander. And like I said, I'll whittle down those 14 to I remove a couple of more guys here and there, and we'll be good. But there's some, I can poke holes in a lot of the guys. I like to look at guys and see who can I really not poke many holes in. Well, Luis Castillo is pretty darn awesome, and he's facing a really bad lineup actually, without Jordan, without Altuve now, and it's just not. Gallen's been really good. Andrew Abbott, man, I'll tell you about Andrew Abbott. He had big time minor league numbers, and we talked about it when he first came. We were doing shows when he first came up. We're like, is he real deal? Yeah, he's real. He had big numbers in the minors. Nothing that he's done in the majors has, strayed from that. Nice K rate in the big time K rate in the minors. He's carried a lot of that stuff through to the majors, so I like him. Verlander, he's getting it back together, man. Rough start, the injury to start the year and everything. So those 4 guys now Burns I can poke holes in. I mean, who wants to take on Cincinnati, right? That's a tough one. Hunter Brown, I don't know. Let me check out his ownership real quick. It's not bad, but yeah, it might creep up around the 20% range. Hunter Brown, Dean. Dean, are you back with us?
I think so. Do I sound right? Can you hear me? Okay. My apologies.
I think you have the wrong mic, Dean.
You fix your mic, and I'm going to tell you something about Hunter Brown. We're not even at the All-Star break yet, but he's already approaching his career high in innings for any particular season that he's pitched. So that goes to show you, he's been kind of treated with kid gloves throughout the minor leagues, hadn't pitched me. He's already approaching there, so I can, there's reason to believe that maybe not. Maybe I don't want to go moving forward. Maybe Hunter Brown isn't a guy I want to go all in on too much. So there's guys there that they're good pitchers, and they'll probably end up in the GPP pools. But those 4 guys I'm talking about, Gallen, Castillo, Verlander, Abbott, are going to be the main guys I'm focused on tonight.
Yeah, that is an interesting pool, and I think I'm good to go now as far as my mic. We should be my apologies, a little bit of goofiness. So we should be getting Kirkwood in here, hopefully, assuming he's dodged some sort of a fire alarm issue. Hopefully it's just a false alarm.
What's sad? Dean?
What's that?
Kirkwood's probably still going to bill the company for the full hour of the show, and that's crazy, man. But I mean, good props to him if he found a way out, man.
You're not going to rat him out, are you?
Wow, to each his own, man. If that's the way you choose to handle your business, go for it.
Okay, let's run down all these guys. And it is worth noting as far as our ownership stuff, it's pretty condensed, right? Zach Allen is getting the most ownership on DK as of right now. This stuff changes. This is as of, 20 minutes ago or so? Let me see if I can give it a refresh if anything's changed. I'm assuming this is probably the freshest batch we have. But you mentioned Abbott, Chop, and Abbott's been great. And that Cincinnati team, all the rookies have come through. But he's been super lucky is kind of the part that, 100% left on base percentage in 37 innings. That's outrageous, right? He's got a BABIP, a batting average on balls in play at 190. He pitches in the Great American Ballpark, and he's got a homer in the fly ball at 7.8%.
Mic check.
Kirkwood, you're coming in hot. Yeah, I assume the fire is taken care of. We're all good?
All right. So what happened? So I live in first of all, Chop was saying my house, like I owned a house. I live in an apartment. I was listening. I could hear what was going on. I did not burn toast. I live in a big apartment complex, and people do this all the time, and it's maddening. And it's the loudest goddamn fire alarm I've ever experienced in my entire life, and it goes off way too often. And I live in a handicapped, accessible apartment.
Yeah.
And so while the rest of the building has now been turned off, in my unit, it still has flashing lights. And so what I did, I found my own tricks like around things. So what I do is I tinfoil over the where the lights are, so to block it. And you still it's still annoying, and you hear it go bang, bang, bang. And it's not good for the dogs and whatever. But so what happened was some painter pulled it by accident and set it all off literally 3 minutes before I was supposed to come on. Well, so I'm here, and Chop's. You know what? I'll do a 3%. Chop's sitting pretty with his health insurance. He's talking about, I'm probably going to bill him for the whole thing. I'd like to see what he bills him. I'd like to see what he gets and what I get. If we want to compare apples to apples, let's open up the books and show people and see what it is. But
yeah, well, I'm here for the show, so they probably acknowledge that a little bit more than some of the other guys.
Kirkwood, we got you fired up here on a Friday. We do appreciate you doing your best to jump in. It's almost an hour still, right? Where you go, and Chop said the full hour. We go an hour and 15 minutes here. Sometimes an hour 20 if we have a little bit of crosstalk, a little bit of cross banter with Roth and the boys on Crunch Time. We're just digging into pictures. You didn't miss a ton here, Kirkwood. If you want to give me your screenshot, your overview when it comes to the slate as in its entirety, by all means, your Red Sox are going to be super popular as far as the hitters. They're popping as the best offense on this slate. And just the pitchers, there's a whole bunch. There's Abbott, there's Gallen, there's Cease, Castillo versus Hunter Brown. Corbin Burns is here. I don't know if you need him, but he's pitching baseballs tonight. We have the return of Carlos Rodon. I saw somebody asking chat about Rodon. Why not Rodon? Because he's going to be on a pitch count. Like, they're not going to push him his first start of the year. And I think his last minor league start, he threw like 58 pitches, I want to say. And there's no discount as far as the asking price. They want over 9K with 9.3 on Fanduel. I think he's in the 9s on DK as well. Just doesn't make any sense. If this was like a 3-game slate, then maybe. But there's no.
Sorry, I missed that. Who? Oh, yeah. I that was the first click I made today. You don't know what to expect.
I mean, there's no way. There's just no way you can play Carlos Rodon today. He might be good in 5 innings and good for him. But
that was a good call on Baltimore. I was on him too last night. I had, you know what, and I was in the chat and I was like, I was really tired yesterday, and I was like, I wasn't going to play. I was going to take the night off. But then I was watching the show and I was making lineups, and I only put, because I'm so tired with the baby and whatnot, I don't like put all my entries in ahead of time and then know I'm going to be there. I need to make sure I'm going to be there and I'm like with it. So I made the first lineup, put it in. Then I go to make the second lineup, put it in, and everything's filled. The 250 was filled, and I had like a top 1%. I would have gotten third in the 250, would have been 5K, and instead I was sitting there in the $75 and the $15, just holding my junk. You know what I mean? When I should have.
Even when you win, you lose.
yeah. So and then today I'm just tilt galore today because I'm in this secret chat. There's these people who are supposedly know tennis, especially one guy. He's like, oh, he was a top ranked tennis player. The only thing he does, he doesn't have a job, doesn't have nothing. He goes to the pool and he goes and plays tennis and he goes and plays pickleball and he claims to know everything inside and out about tennis. And he has given me loser after loser. And then I started chasing it with other picks. And I just went down a rabbit hole. I got to stop. So no more tennis bets for me.
Do you watch the tennis? Do you tilt it like you actually watch the match as well?
A little bit, or I just watch a little blinking blip on a screen that says if they want to play or not. Yeah. It's like Pong.
30
So anyway, let's go. I'm here. I'm ready. Let's go. Let's talk pitching.
Yeah. So how do you feel about your Red Sox being? Give me your overview first. Yeah. Boston is the number one offense on the board, and pitching, there's a ton of it. I think offense is kind of, I don't want to say it's limited because somebody's going to break out that you just don't really see coming. But there's 3 or 4, maybe 5 teams, and there's a pretty big break. Not a lot of teams have totals above 5, and then a lot of good pitchers. Kirkwood, are you finding a way to separate them from the field? We have Gallen, and if you look at just our projections, right, the plate IQ projections, RotoGrinders plate IQ projections, I'm not going to do the decimal points, but we have Luis Castillo at 19, Gallen at 18-ish, Brown 18-ish, Abbott 18-ish, Savali at 17-ish, Burns 17-ish. So it's so congested, and even the prices are pretty congested. Most of the guys are upwards of 7K to like 9-ish as far as pitchers. Do you have anybody clearly separating from the field for you?
Well, I think Zach Gallen is the best, at least the longest track record, the one I feel most confident in. I am not one of these Pittsburgh believers that other people are. They don't K the most, but I think he can absolutely mow this lineup down. I'm a little worried about, losing Corbin Carroll last night. It was kind of rough. I'm a little worried about what happens now with this team if their mojo's down a little bit, but who cares? I'm on board with Corbin Burns. I know the optimizers like him, but then you go into like our experts, our rankings say nobody wants to play Corbin Burns, right? Because he's been very volatile to say the least, and hasn't quite lived up to expectations where he used to be the guy that
also look who he's playing, like the sexiest team in baseball.
The sexiest team, however, not the best team in baseball. Just a hot team right now, right? Like a team hot. But you know what? There's still so that makes me want to play Burns. I want to jam Burns now because I ripped into him, and so the big problem, his velocity is fine. The problem has been location with him on his cutter and his curveball, and he's been hanging up. That's when he gets belted. If he keeps it down in the zone, like really down, then and locates well, he cruises. And he still has all his pitches, all his repertoire is all good. So it's just been like him getting location properly. And he came around in his last start against the Pirates. He made one mistake all game. He had a 30% called strike whiff. I think today, I think he's ready to like just burst back into. I think he's there. I think everything is there. Everything is going to be there. So I'm on board with him tonight, and I hope people don't play him. But the problem is that it seems like all the optimizers like him, right?
Really?
So like a lot of like what is the bat like? I think he's in bat optimal.
He's the number one guy on the bat.
Corbin Burns is interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yes.
Interesting.
So like that kind of makes me. I was hoping he would be like ranked down. So I think his ownership is still going to be high, but it seems like a lot of people are going to be bumping that down. So anyway, I like him. I'm on board with him. Abbott, it's Milwaukee. So, right. Like, even if he's not for real, like he should be good in this start anyway. This isn't the team that's going to, regression him, the regression monster hits. That's
a good job, but that's what I was in the middle of saying before. Like, Abbott has been crazy lucky. It's undeniable to say he hasn't been lucky. He's going to be good. But like his numbers so far, he's been the best pitcher. If this is how he is, he'll be the greatest pitcher of all time. And like, spoiler alert, he's not going to be the greatest pitcher of all time. The left on base percentage at 100% is outrageous. It has to go down. The BABIP has to go up at 190. The homer and the fly ball, especially pitching in Cincinnati at 7.8%. His fly balls are almost 60% on the season.
Yeah,
I do think Milwaukee is like really interesting as far as if you want to.
And he's got a 9%. He's got a 9% walk rate. It's like everything is bad. His Sierra is 4.04. His ERA is 1.21. So this is like the regression monster. The regression monster is coming. I just don't think this is the start. Like I don't think this start proves anything either way.
I kind of agree with that, but I will mini stack Milwaukee. But go ahead. I do agree with what you're saying though. They're probably not going to fully get to him.
Yeah. I'm on board with Cease. Cease gets a nice little bit of savings. He's been pitching much better. He's almost there. So I don't mind him tonight. Who else? Who else is going to get some? Hunter Brown, sure. Seattle, they strike out a bunch. He's been hit or miss too. I mean, Chop, I'd like to hear Chop's feelings on Hunter.
Oh, I gave him a little while ago, but
because you were here on time, I get it. Yeah.
I was telling Dean that we're already at a point where he's approaching his season high in innings of any year of his career. So it's when guys do that, I think you can expect if they don't get shut down and take a big break, then you can expect them to like have some outings where they
oh boy
where they're not particularly effective. But so I'm like that. But Corbin Burns, also want to say something about Corbin Burns real quick.
Sure.
I do have a Milwaukee insider. Insider, and that Milwaukee he told me no. That's a good one. I should ask Tuttle this. He told me that Corbin Burns is just going through the motions this year because he was so disgruntled at that contract situation he had before the season started. I don't know.
Well, a lot of people, just a spoiler, your insider, that was like general knowledge. That was like a well-known story, a national story. Like I appreciate the fact you have an insider, but you didn't need one for that one.
Okay, dude.
I thought you were going to give me something else, like maybe something's going on with his life, his personal life.
That is his
dog
personal.
Maybe is ill. I don't know.
His money is his personal life, dude.
I mean, chat's about to get spicy. RG chat. We got our boy Lip here, who's, as you can see, I mean, the only thing I'm surprised he didn't ask was what our thoughts on. I think he's probably going to say that he's going to play Sam Long, but he didn't say him. But he said Austin Gomber instead, and then someone said Austin Gomber sucks, and then he pulls around. They already deleted it in chat, but he wrote you suck. So Lip's been drinking. I can tell that. It's Friday. I can pick that up, and things might pop off pretty quickly here.
Yeah. And by the way, somebody else said, Eric says, bad takes, fellas. Abbott has pedigree. Who said he didn't have pedigree? I'm saying he's not going to be the greatest pitcher of all time, and that's a bad take. I'm sorry. If you think he's going to continue to never allow somebody that gets on base to score a run the rest of his life, by all means. And we're also saying, like, it doesn't necessarily mean Milwaukee's going to get to him, but eventually his numbers have to regress. It's impossible for him to have a 121 ERA when you have a 190 BABIP and a left on base percentage of 100%. That's not going to continue going forward. It will change. It doesn't mean he's bad. Just understand it's been kind of fluky and he's been super lucky. I don't know. You can understand. You can separate those things. Did we not say that pretty clearly, Chop? I thought we did. It's not
clearly. Yeah, clearly you don't like him, but I mean that's your opinion. That's your opinion, man.
I'm more of a Costello guy. That's for you, Chop. I know you're a big fan of those old references.
That's awful, man. But yeah. So I don't know. He's expensive too, So and Rodon, talked about Rodon real quick. Like I don't mind Rodon. I actually think there's a path where he just mows people down, and he's. Like you're not going to get too many, but his problem they didn't leave him as a cheaper pitcher option on DraftKings. He's 9,300 on FanDuel too, 91 and 93. Like they're not giving you any discount, man. I want that.
Unplayable.
Yeah, well he's playable in GPPs, really long shots. I mean, because you just never know, Dean. I mean, I know you don't like him, but it doesn't mean he's unplayable. Hell, who's the worst pitcher on the board? Like.
Well, anybody pitching in the Oakland-Boston game?
Okay. Maybe they're unplayable, but anybody who has any sort of decent avenue to striking guys out, even if it's five innings or so. You know, they're playable in GPP. Anybody's playable in GPPs. Blender should have taught you that by now.
Well, I mean,
I'm kind of interested in.
still, right?
I mean, I want to play the Cubs.
Or you could play the Cubs. Sure.
That's not crazy.
No, I know. I just don't know what we're going to get from him. They match up pretty well. You've been able to run on him really, really easily always. So, and he's just going to and the Yankees are a mess right now. I mean, talk about morale yesterday.
If you could think of one adjective to describe the Yankees, Kirkwood, I know you have a big pool to choose from.
Gutless.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for. Updated gutless power rankings of the Yankees.
St. Louis Cardinals are on the gutless list too, which is why I like Cease. There's a lot of I got gutless tennis rankings. I got a lot of gutless rankings right now.
They cross over different sports.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, as the show progresses, I want to hear more about your potential gutless plays because it's going to help me build lineups for sure. What do you think of the starting lineup, by the way, for Boston, Kirkwood? I thought there's a long draw in the start, as an opener. Boston didn't change. They said, screw it. We're still going to load up with lefties up top. We don't care. So I guess, do you feel better about? Yeah.
The only one that would be, and they would not start Duran, but he's been so hot. He's been so hot right now. He's doing as well as that. Plus Sam Long doesn't. I mean, I'd rather see Sam Malone. Who was that yesterday?
We had pitching against his former team. That would be a revenge game for Sam Malone. If he was facing Boston.
Yeah. Anyways, no. So but everyone Devers always is. They're not moving Devers. Verdugo usually makes the lineup. So it's just the only difference is that they didn't use Ref Snyder instead of Duran.
Yeah, there's a couple other lefties still in that bullpen for what it's worth. Long last pitched on Sunday and he threw 12 pitches, so maybe he can go a couple innings if necessary. I don't expect him to go a second time through for Duran, but I guess it's possible if he's efficient. He sees Duran twice. Do you have a take as far as that Seattle-Houston game? Like I know Chop was talking about Hunter Brown, and like the Marlins, like it's the Chop's point, different organization, different philosophies, I suppose, but the Marlins sent down Yuri Perez not because of performance. I think they're kind of manipulating the all-star stuff as well, but they've already talked about they're trying to limit his innings and they want to have him when theoretically when it matters for the Marlins. And he's on track to throw way too many innings for them. So they might shut him down and then ramp him back up. I don't know if Hunter Brown, that's something they're talking about, but Chop kind of throws it out there and that's food for thought, I suppose. That is interesting. Maybe he gets shut down later on in the season, Chop, and just let him go today, or what's your read? How concerned are you? 90 pitches or so?
No, I'm not worried about the pitch count necessarily.
Okay.
I'm more worried about like later on down the road and the fatigue of it, like the fatigue of not having pitched this many innings. And but what real choice do they have? They've got they thought they were going to have a 6-man rotation. There's only 2 guys left standing right now that haven't been injured.
Yeah, McCullers down Brown.
One of them's Hunter Brown, so they don't really have a choice right now but to run him out there. But later on in the year, and I would just worry about fatigue on a night like tonight. Not necessarily if he's good enough, he's gonna go for as long as they can have him go. But Bobby Gomes is in chat, Dean. Bobby wants you to give him a reach around tonight, and he wants you to hit the nuts with your reach around.
As far as the stack you're talking about, correct?
Yes, of course. We're on a DFS show, Dean.
It's a different conversation.
Can you hit the nuts for Bobby on your reach around?
And then will you give him a couple of choppers knockers to suck on too, Chop?
Later on, he can suck on some knockers, but right now,
can we get those in the same lineup somehow? If we can somehow make that work, if we can coordinate it. The tricky thing is,
wow, funny you should ask, Dean, because I had 2 guys in the same line, but I was worried that might be overkill. Interesting.
The 9 hitters tonight are pretty rough, right? I mean, I'm not rostering Elvis, Anders.
I just led you to the primrose path.
As far as the top reach round?
Yeah. Who was I talking about last?
We were talking about Boston. Oh, you were talking about Chicago. Who's batting ninth?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? That's actually not a terrible. I don't hate that. Yeah.
It's a sexy little reach around, huh?
How much do they? The only reason why Wisdom bats ninth is because they can't bat him 10th. They hate Patrick Wisdom in Chicago. I know it hasn't been a great year for him, but he's got a ton of power for sure. As 9 hitters go, when it comes to just flat out upside, I don't mind that. The other one I was thinking about, and you guys aren't gonna like this one either. Joey Weimer's got a ton of power, and he's probably gonna strike out a couple times against Abbott, but he can certainly get a homer against them. That guy gets a hold of it. He's a big dude. He's a hoss, like 6'5" or something like that. Mountain of a man. He can bang out a homer off of Abbott. We talked about his fly ball tendencies, almost 60% fly balls this season. I don't know how much I love left on left Yelich, but if you're stacking, whatever. But I do like Weimer, Contreras, and Adames. Maybe I'll include Yelich. I'm not sure, but I like that 9-2-3. Chop, I don't know. What do we call that in the reach round when we skip the 1 and jump the 2-3? I guess you can play the Yelich. That's fine.
Again, Dean, stacks don't have to be in numerical order. You can skip
for the
a
reach
batter.
Around.
No, it could go 8, 9, 2, 3. It could go 9, 2, 3, 5. Like you just want to have some sort of correlation where your guy could be on base when another guy bats. But Kirk's a Boston guy. What about Yu Chang? What about Yu Chang in the 9 spot tonight? Yu Chang.
Worthless.
He's worthless. Okay. Fair enough.
He's cheap is like the best thing you can say about him, right?
I'm just looking at bat projections, and they've got him as the highest projected ninth place hitter tonight. So I'm just throwing it out there. Thought we had a good scouting report on him.
By the way, I did run some bat optimals, and I was very surprised. You guys were talking about it as far as pitchers. I put a cap on it. I think Burns hits the cap, which is pretty shocking when you consider all the options out there. Burns was getting 76%. I ran 121 lineups, Gallon at 40%. Go ahead.
That's what I worry about. Like I started the day and played IQ, and when we're all doing our blurbs and whatnot, and our rankings, but and no one wanted to play Burns, but Burns is getting spit out as optimal. That's a little scary.
We were talking about the RG projections, and they're pretty condensed as far as the median projection. I wanted to see raw points, the difference. Yeah, so according to the Cardi and the bat, we all respect the bat. Burns getting almost 23 points as a median projection. Then Gallon almost 20, Abbott 18, Savali 18, Brown 17, C 17, Rodon 17, Castillo about 17. Yeah, it's separating himself, obviously, and that's why he's grabbing so much ownership. And I bet the bat ownership is going to be distinctly different on Burns because we have him at 24%, I believe, and the bat's going to have him higher because it's giving a bigger projection. But that's pretty interesting. You're not playing cash, are you, Kirkwood?
Hell no.
Okay, I was just curious.
I am on Yahoo, but that doesn't matter. I'm playing.
That's a different build.
It's just a different world over there.
You get a lot of action in cash over on Yahoo.
No, it's getting crazy. Like I like it when we can get. Sometimes some people like jump in a 3-man for like 1,000.
Yeah,
and I like that. I like those when those. But you never. It's like you got to be checking all day for when that happens, and I miss it a lot.
Is it 1v1 and usually there's one person that's kind of dead? Is that the thought process?
No, there's like some of the guys who do it are just like completely like just a lineup you would never get on. I'm not saying it's a bad. It's pretty hard to make a bad lineup. Yeah, but it's like a lineup that you wouldn't make. So I wouldn't call it a bad lineup, but.
So Savali's a bad pitcher. Aaron Savali's a pretty bad pitcher, but he's facing a bad lineup. And he's also distinctly cheaper than the rest of the guys we're talking about, down to 7.7 on DK. I don't think I want Savali. If I have to step down, I guess I'm willing to do it. But there's so many talented pitchers. And you poke warts at him as far as the matchups. And we know Kansas City's terrible. Chop, what's our official take here as far as Savali? Because he's getting ownership and his projection's pretty good. And it's more so his opponent than himself, right? He's not the best at throwing baseballs, but the Royals just kind of bleed fantasy points.
I have Savali as the cheapest guy I would go with tonight. I don't want any of those other guys, but I have Savali as the cheapest guy. I actually don't mind him. I don't think he's got a very much of a ceiling, but I think he has a solid floor in this game. He's got 6+ innings in him, run suppression against this team. All you need is some strikeouts, which he doesn't do particularly well, but Kansas City will give you heaps of strikeouts with this lineup. So I kind of didn't mind. So I don't mind Savali. In GPPs, I'm not going to be playing him in cash, Dean. But GPPs, why not? I mean, I think there's a floor there.
You have anything to add there, Kirkwood, as far as Savali?
I don't mind him. It's just all about Kansas City. You look at this lineup, right, and you just look at the plate IQ, and you just see red everywhere in the strikeouts, except for Olivares and Kyle Isbell. So, you've got to give him a boost in strikeouts tonight. He's not the highest K percentage guy, far from it, but he could surprise you and pull off, and he could compete tonight. So I'm right with Chop. He's kind of like unless you guys sell me on going, because I played Tommy Malone the other day, so I'm willing to play anybody. And that
Bradford?
guy threw an 87 mile per hour fastball.
It's a hot gun. He's not throwing 87.
Yeah, it was like 86, 85. It was just horrendous. He topped out at 87, I think. But Bradford, if someone can sell me on Bradford, I want to be in. But I don't. But it's like, why? Because we don't have the Braves. It's like
Dodgers
if
are
the
here.
Braves,
Texas.
But we don't have the Braves. The Braves are like the Braves are the only one worthy of that.
They're so good. Yeah. Braves, I think, are playing at 640. I'm just happy, by the way, I'm not we don't have to make the Alek Manoah decision because he's facing Detroit today at 640. I know people love my season-long talk. Do I start Manoah today, Kirkwood, facing the Detroit Tigers in my season-long team?
He's back, baby.
He's back. All right.
I'd love to hear I need to read in. It shocked me to hear that he was back. I had kind of written him off when they sent him down so far. I'd like to hear what did they just send him down there to just like work on one pitch, and who cares? I don't know either. I want to read into
a bunch of 18-year-olds like annihilated him though his first.
I want to believe in him. I still think it's diet related. That's my.
Do you have a Toronto guy? Do you have access to his diet, or?
I've got an insider. Like Chop has an insider.
Brian in chat asked about the weather in Washington. I went ahead and dropped the weather report, Ross weather report. He'll be on in about a half hour or so. Let's see. Currently, yellow batch of storms approaching, but cautiously optimistic that they'll play ball. Of course, Roth will give you a better update when he jumps on in a half hour. He probably updates that article soon as well. Weather edge-wise, is anything popping? Do we have any fire emojis? I don't think we do. Slight bump for bats in Washington. It's 84 degrees, a little slight breeze out there to left field. Boston, we got boots in the ground in Boston. 167 games of similar weather. Let's see, wind is blowing right towards the monster at 9 miles per hour. The dew point is 68, and the temperature is 83. So in that circumstance, at 167 games, we've seen a bump in homers at 13%, a bump in runs at 11%, and we have Oakland pitchers in the mound. So that's why Boston is popping. Nothing else really of notes. Slight downgrades for the Dodgers, slight downgrades for San Diego. Kirkwood, have you stepped outside today? What can you say about the dew point there in Boston?
Great dew point. It's a Baja Blast kind of day. It's it's hot. It's great weather, and so it's. I just want to check as we go on further. Yeah, and the wind's blowing out too. A nice little bit of, almost 10 miles per hour out to left. So this is the weather is nice.
There are some names, some pictures being thrown out. I do want to move on and start to talk stacks and enough, and I want to get to all your questions in chat. By all means, start loading them up. If you're considering 2v2s in tournaments, ask those questions. We're happy to answer them. Give us the details. Let us know. Are you playing in tournaments? You're playing in cash? You're playing in Fanduel, Draftkings? Is it single entry? Is it a large field? Is it you're playing the lotto? All that kind of stuff does help us out there's been some names thrown out in chats. I want to get some clarity. We really can't mention everybody, but Yu Darvish, Justin Verlander, they're throwing baseballs tonight. We haven't really talked about them. Kirkwood, Darvish, Verlander, those guys do anything for you? Verlander getting 7%. The K's just haven't quite been there. San Diego, tough team to pick on. On the other side, Darvish is just getting 4% ownership there against a Met team that broke out last night against Arizona. They're fine, but they're like, if you're running MMEs, I suppose maybe you get a pinch of both, but I'm not enthused about either. Your thoughts as far as Verlander and Darvish?
Me?
Yeah.
Verlander, I'm still out on Verlander. I think it's obviously a weaker lineup. Oh no, let me see.
I don't know if we have lineups just yet.
I did see the lineup. I thought I missed someone. I thought Machado was out tonight, but he's in. So I'm not on Verlander at all. On Darvish, he hasn't made what's the layoff been for Darvish? The
last time he pitched?
Yeah.
17 days.
Yeah, he hasn't pitched. He hasn't pitched in a little while, and he's old. He's been horrendous anyway. I've stuck by him. I've played him way too much this year, so I'm out on him too until we start seeing him get into his old form. Again, I just don't think you need it. I mean, we have so many similar names, similar price tags, and ownership's going to be spread out because we have so many of these guys that I don't think I need to get tricky.
Anything to add there, Chop, as far as those pitchers? Bailey Ober getting thrown out there. Butthole Jenkins wants to know about Bailey Ober. I don't know if that changes things. You want to be more inspired now to answer that question?
I would say as far as Yu Darvish, no thank you. He hasn't pitched in a while, and I think he was sick or something. And the Mets are, they're kind of swinging a good bat. I don't know if I want to put them in the hot category, but at least they're doing something with the bat these days. Now, Justin Verlander, I mentioned earlier, I can get behind that. It's not a bad price tag. If San Diego's, he's gotten some things righted from the beginning of the season. He looks better now, so maybe he's about to hit that stride, and I think he's still got something left in him. Who was the last one here just now? Bailey Ober. Bailey Ober, man. I think he's
moments.
Yes, he's had his moments, but I've said it before. Man, I just don't want to pick on Baltimore.
Same.
They're a pretty good lineup, and so I think they had a little swoon a while back, but they've kind of righted the ship on that one. So I kind of don't want to mess around with. I haven't seen. Let me check out their lineup real quick today. Gunner, he's Santander. O'Hearn, Mullins, West. They got a couple younger guys down there at 5'6", I think. Bottom of the order is not too great. So if you wanted to take that chance, he's one of the guys.
He just crushed them. He just crushed them last week. But
Rushman's out, by the way. It's McCann catching, so the lineup is a little bit weaker.
That is a little bit weaker.
Rushman's been struggling too.
Yeah, he sucks. So
what?
Yeah, I don't know.
Overrated.
Well, he's a future Hall of Famer. What are you talking about?
Dean, well, we're talking about DFS terms, and I don't think I've heard a peep out of Rushman in 3 weeks. So in DFS terms,
Chop.
Right now he sucks.
Sorry, our friend of the show, Booby, was mentioning the Jalen Green video. Have you seen any of those clips?
I've seen those clips, and
what are your thoughts on those clips?
Should I Google this or should I not Google this?
Good for Jalen.
I'm not going to Google it.
I'm hoping Jalen finds peace in whatever choice he's. If he wants to come out and make a statement, come out and make a statement, Jalen. It's a free world we live in, man. I'm happy for him, man. Hope he finds some peace.
Wow. So you think he needs peace?
Well, nobody wants to live a lie, do they, Kirk?
So you think it's official? You think he's living a lie?
No. I'm just saying if the videos represent the truth about what he really is, then by all means, come on.
You guys didn't do that in the locker room back in the high school football days?
Never did that. No, we never did nothing like that. That's a little bit. That's a bit much. I've heard stories about fraternities though. I've never joined a fraternity. I've heard stories about fraternities though, Dean. You ever get at UCF? You ever get a little fraternal hazing with the shocker or anything like that?
No, I mean I know people that were in them, but I did not. I didn't participate. That was it's not a route that I took. I've been to a party or two, but it's been a long time, obviously. But I mean, I certainly didn't participate in a lot of the. No is the answer, I guess. I'll just go.
So basically, it's safe to say that you've been lubricated at a frat party.
Dang, Dean.
You're talking about having a beverage or two?
Drinking, beverage, yeah.
Yeah, just a beverage. Yeah, beverage.
Beverages.
Yeah, I mean, it's happened before. I've gotten thirsty once or twice, but for the most part, we held that in check. Bobby Gomes, while throwing some shade at Rushman. Everybody hates Rushman. What's going on here? And yes, I'm kind of joking about him being a Hall of Famer, but if you were to give me like 15-1 odds on him, I would take it. I'll take 15-1 odds on Rushman being a Hall of Famer at some point. We shall let's do the summary.
So he calls him a guaranteed Hall of Famer. Now he wants 15-1 odds.
Did I say guaranteed?
Crazy. Well, I mean, you
said
it
what
was
you want to hear.
Fact. You're like, he's a future Hall of Famer. You said he was like a fact.
I'm being hyperbolic. It's a thing. We're on a show. We're just messing around. You haven't been hyperbolic before?
Yeah, right.
Your gutless rankings are real?
Absolutely. Definitely real.
You might think they're real, but nobody else believes them.
Dollars behind them. Data and dollars. Yeah.
How many dollars?
Whatever I lose that night on my gut, well, it's a lot of dollars. If you accumulate it all up, it's a lot.
Has Chop ever done a keg stand back in the day? You ever participate in that?
Oh man, a keg stand.
No.
Yeah, I think I've done. Yeah, back in high school, sure.
And what about the funnel?
Why'd you react like that?
Funnel?
Because it's just a throwback. It's just a throwback. The funnel, I've done that before too.
We got to get these pictures up on Twitter.
There's no pictures, Dean.
It didn't happen. You want to give me the summary, Chop, as far as pictures? Somebody has tuned in.
We got to do this again.
I do want to mention. Go ahead.
Summary. No, what do you got to mention, Dean? Mention it.
I feel like we kind of glossed over Luis Castillo. And Luis Castillo.
Oh, yeah. No, I talked about him, Dean. I talked. You were having a meltdown with your camera. You had to disappear, but I talked about him pretty good. Like this Astros line, like he's a good pitcher, a really good pitcher, and this Astros lineup is not good with probably their two best hitters, arguable, not in it and injured on the IL. So I think you go for it. Yeah, Luis Castillo. He's. I got two guys in my tier 1 top rankings, and Castillo's one of them. So I definitely like him tonight.
Well, the other part of it is the Houston lineup's bad, but they're also like tremendously right-handed. 8 of the 9 starters outside of Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker, the most imposing stick here in this Houston lineup, they're righties. And Castillo on the season, his Ks versus righties is 30.5%, 6.1% as far as walks. The WOBA down to 265. He's dominated righties pretty good, is the point. So it's a spectacular matchup for him. And I feel like we just didn't spend enough time on it. Of course, Crunch Time, it's a more organized show. This is more just kind of like wherever the chat takes us, wherever the conversation takes us. We yield to them in 15, 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, 15, 20 minutes, Dean.
We got plenty of time.
Dean, good question for you.
Yeah.
What odds would you give me right now on Wembanyama being a Hall of Famer?
Oh. Geez.
Team Brittany over here.
Yeah. I mean, that wasn't his fault, I don't think, right? It's just somebody in his camp. So I would say it's at least a 20% chance, right? 25?
25. Ooh, that's a big
just
number.
You're betting on his health, essentially, right?
Maybe. I don't know. You
the skill set's pretty absurd. Like, I know he hasn't played against the NBA players just yet, but
so you've seen a lot of his skill on display against the NBA.
No, I just said we have not seen it against the NBA, but
you said he has
players that are competent and are professionally trained.
I mean, Cam Reddish was awesome in high school and college. He's not going to the Hall of Fame.
He's also not 9'7" and hitting 3-pointers and like crossing over people.
Bol was unstoppable back in the day.
He was just cut. He was just released.
He's not going to the Hall of Fame. People are asking, maybe Wembanyama is just a fancy Chet Holmgren. I don't know, man. Maybe not. Who knows?
Well, we don't even know if Chet Holmgren's any good.
Exactly, D. You're making my argument for me now.
But if you give me something at 5-1, you going to give me 5-1? I'll take 5-1 Are you planning to stick around for 15, 20 years?
A quarter of.
In the NBA, you just accumulate a bunch of stats and you're in. That's it. It's much easier to get in the NBA Hall of Fame than other places.
Fair enough, Dean.
You sounds like you don't like my number. What do you give it at? 5%?
I think
10%?
Anybody just coming into the league, like anybody that hasn't played one NBA game, no, anybody, I don't care what the pedigree, just not even stepping foot on an NBA court yet, probably 25% is a little high for the Hall of Fame. But I mean,
okay,
whatever. It's fine. I think he's probably going to be a pretty good player. I'm just curious.
Did we get the knockers chopped? Did you ever release the
knockers?
No,
we've been on pitching for like an hour.
Well, let's do it. As we segue into hitting, as we segue into stacks, do we want to segue in with the knockers chop?
Is that what you want first, Dean? You know, the BVPs or nothing?
Well, what you have so many gimmicks, I can't keep track of them all. The triple G.
The gimmicks is insulting, Dean. It's not a gimmick, man. It's the real deal. It's informational. This is like an infomercial. This is an infomercial. All right, so
only 4 easy payments.
Let's go with the BVP play of the day, Dean. And I haven't seen a San Francisco lineup, so I'm hoping he makes it. I imagine he does. And I'm not even worried about the pinch hit risk. Keep that pinch hit risk to yourself, Cardi. I'm going for the BVP play of the day, Austin Slater.
Oh, yeah. I don't like it. He's going to get 2 at-bats, and then he's going to turn the Jock Peterson.
Fine. 2 at-bats is going to – no, he won't get 2. He might get 3, right? 2,
maybe
3.
It depends how bad what's his name? Austin Gomber is pitching. Slater probably leads off.
I think he only needs 1 at-bat against Gomber to make it. I think home run right off the bat, boom.
It would be his first homer ever against Gomber. He's never homer versed him.
All good things, Dean.
Officially 9 at-bats and 9 hits and 15 at-bats, 4 singles, 3 doubles, and a couple triples. I would imagine that part of that happened in Coors Field. He's not in Coors today. He's in San Fran. I saw somebody in chat mention the wind. Yeah, it's blowing out there in San Fran, but the way they built that ballpark, they subdue the wind pretty good, so it's not it doesn't really affect the game so much. It's certainly not like Chicago, like Wrigley. Kirkwood, you have a Juggalo bomb for the people?
I'm gonna make it easy. I need to start hitting some of these. I last night, so I moved to total bases, and I had a three person parlay last night. And guess who my third leg was? I had Gunner
Corbin
was the first. Yeah, it was Carroll. I was the only one. Was the first one. Seager was the second one, and it was just. And then I just needed a double from Corbin Carroll or 2 singles or whatever. But I needed a double by the time he got up, and then just watched him just throw out his shoulder, which he's had surgery on. And,
a couple years ago.
Yeah. Anyways, I mean, I don't see how Devers doesn't homer tonight. I don't see you. I mean, if Trevor Williams, you have to play against him, right? Like, so like Adolis Garcia should be an easy bomb. He's got a nice ISO versus right-handed, right-handed bats and great ballpark, great dew point, hot, humid, and also Williams has struggled more with the right-handed bats for power, for much higher ISO allowed this season, like 255 ISO allowed or something ridiculous, 1.91 home run per 9. Like you gotta be bomb hunting against him anytime we come out. So I'd like Adolis Garcia. I also like I like I like Jung. Everyone's gonna like Seager, but I'll give me the righties.
Dodgers lineup just came out, by the way. Betts, Freeman, Will Smith, Muncy, JD Martinez, Peralta, Hayward, Outman, and Rojas. Do want to get this in before we yield to crunch time, 10 or 15 minutes or so. We get Chief Mineralogist Kevin Roth, we get Dave Potts, we get TJ Zwarych. That's why you got that like button, because once we get a certain threshold, I'm not sure what Hem and Spidey are going to set it at. Spidey bombs are on layaway. So do hit that like button. Do subscribe. 15 minutes till they jump on. Did want to mention Stat Hero. You guys know about Stat Hero, unique fantasy sport. It's a unique fantasy sports platform. You know it. You love it. It allows users to compete against the house instead of other players. The tier searing 20 contest for MLB Pick'em, That is still going on. It's a free-to-play contest. You win and start your streak, keep your streak alive by playing each and every single day. Build your streak, win prizes with consecutive wins, including swag, RG Premium, and a cash prize. $20,000 first place is the cash prize in the Searing 20 contest. Currently on Stat Hero, we do have a nice promo code to get you all going. Grinders, that's GRINDERS, Grinders, 50% deposit bonus up to $250. Again, that promo code on Stat Hero is $250. 50% deposit bonus up to $250. Promo code's Grinders, GRINDERS. Jump into the action today at Stat Hero. Going to go ahead and pull up our rankings when it comes to stacks today. Kind of references a couple times where it's kind of congested, right? It's pretty clear who the top 3 or 4 teams happen to be. Myself and Kirkwood and Dave Potts will be on in a bit. STL cards. We all have Boston number 1. We all have Texas number 2. We all have the Dodgers number 3 with the exception of Cards. Cards has Minnesota number 3. Let's see. Kirkwood's got Minnesota 4. Minnesota takes a huge hit for me, Kirkwood, when they're facing a lefty. They have all those lefties on the bench.
So when I say Minnesota, so really that's a skinny stack, and I just play.
Okay.
What I do, I just avoid it, and I play Correa and Buxton every time.
And I like that. Okay.
And I pick one more. It's usually Kepler when he's in the lineup because he usually sticks around. But I mean, Solano, it's just so tilting whether it's Solano or whatever the other. Who's that young guy?
Miranda or Solano.
No,
we saw something interesting the other day, by the way. What's that?
Castro runs every time he gets on, so you can, and he's a switch hitter.
Yeah, he's more likely to stick around, but Solano, decent chance he goes. Farmer, decent chance he goes. Miranda can go. We've seen Michael A. Taylor get a pinch hit for when Rennie comes in. Julian's on the bench. We saw Julian get the hook the other day, not for a pinch hit, but for defensive purposes. So I thought he was safe because there was no lefties abound. It's like, oh, Julian's going to stick around the entire game. Nope, they pulled him out for defense, which I thought was interesting. Just one more reason. Minnesota is just super, super annoying. But yeah, today, Gallo, Kirilov, and Julian, 3 lefties lurking in that bench. Cole Irvin, the lefty to start. I presume they come in with a righty after him. I'm not saying you can't play Solano or Farmer or Miranda, but those guys are certainly vulnerable to the pinch hit. Chop, let's bring you in. How do you feel about our rankings? We've kind of touched on it throughout the show. And Chap, by all means, chime in as well. We'll touch on that about the next 10 minutes or so before you
recap the top 5 for me. Recap the top 5 for me real quick, Dean. Just boom, 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 right down the
Boston, Texas, Dodgers, Minnesota, and then everybody kind of we're all over the place. Arizona, Cleveland, Yankees, San Fran.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I would say
I got Oakland. I chose Oakland in there.
No, you didn't. Unless you chose different teams
on DraftKings. I did. I switched the DK and Fanduel because they're so cheap on DK.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right. So I think I would have Texas number 1. That's who I have number 1. Texas. And that leads me to the Triple G play of the day in the Texas lineup, Dean. So,
who's going to get 3 singles for Texas?
It's about getting singles, walks, hit by pitch, whatever you can do to get on base. Then you manufacture maybe some steals. And I've got a guy who's going to light it up tonight in all these categories. And Travis Jankowski, Triple G play of the day. you gotta go Travis Jankowski. He's an athlete, man. He's an athlete. He does a lot. He just
homered recently, so he's good for another year.
He homered recently, but anytime he gets on, he's a threat to steal the base. They'll turn him loose, So
he's batting over 300 this year too.
Well, yeah, he's again, Dean, and we're talking about your favorite deal, Dean. Reach arounds. He's at the bottom of the order. Just generally, Texas might have the best all around, bottom of the order of anybody in baseball. But that's enough. Okay, so
Michael
I like
Harris.
Texas.
Hello.
Harris is good, but boy, these Texas guys deliver. Michael Harris was bad to start the year. He's picked it up lately, but these Texas guys, Tavares and whoever they want to put in the 8 spot, they're usually really good. Boston
7-8-1-2 cutting off the 9. Is that a reach around?
Yes.
Reach around?
Yes.
I thought 9 has to be. It's mandatory.
No, bottom, and
some guys like to do a bigger reach around, and there's a lot of different reach arounds.
Well, we really having to explain this to Dean,
a lot of different techniques.
This many years into DFS, this many years he doesn't understand about stacking yet.
Well, it's DFS 101. Today we're first
right.
day one stuff. Let's talk about.
I've got a question for Chop.
Oh.
I noticed that the 105 degrees temperature out in Arizona tonight. How much is that going to seep through?
Shit. No, the humidity in Arizona is not like it is in Arlington.
Okay.
So there's not much seepage out there.
Well, do we know if the roof's going to be open? That's important.
Of course they're going to close it.
I wouldn't say of course. Arizona likes
for 105 degree temperature. They're closing.
It's a dry heat.
Give me 15. Give me 15 to 1.
15 to 1. There's a 25% chance.
I will bet $2 on the roof being open in Arizona.
Yes. And you're giving me 15 to 1?
No. You're saying there's no chance it's open. I get 15 to 1. You can't. I'm not going to be making my bets at the house of Kirkwood. You're skewing the line.
Funny how
you're saying there's no chance.
Funny how it works with Rushman, and then he pivots like this.
Crazy.
According to Izzy,
it's typical. I knew this once he wasn't accountable for his top shots. He still is not.
I can't believe you brought that up. I had just forgotten about it, and now you brought it up again.
Like,
now
if you host a show that's all about top shot picks, and you make comments that, oh, this is a good buy, that's a good this, and you're on a show where you bring this other guy who's an expert, and you vouch for him, you would think that you would take accountability for that. Dean's like, no, I didn't recommend anything. I didn't do anything. You hosted the damn show.
I don't even know
top shots. I
don't even know if we could do a show with Dean anymore. Had we gone through and purchased the $75,000 LeBron, I don't know if we can do a show with this guy anymore, man.
I don't know if I may have jumped at this point.
Are you guys going to buy the Wembanyama top shot when that comes out?
I will not buy anything. I will not buy a JPEG. I'm not going to buy an ape. I'm not going to buy. I'm done.
By the way, Slater is leading off for the Giants. No
it's
surprise.
Crazy that they're still in beta, Dean. Top Shots is still in beta.
Give them some time. They're still they're still working it out. Just like
the China money's coming.
Roham's on a yacht somewhere. He could care less, man. Roham's out there just broham.
Well, Kirkwood, how long has your 2-point model been in beta? If you want to take shots,
that's different.
Somebody's defensive.
I've got non-competes with Roth coming down. There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes. I wouldn't speak to something you aren't too privy to. Dean just Chop's seen it. Chop knows the model. He knows and he uses it.
Oh, well, that's how he wins those millions. The 2-point model.
Dean.
Slater leading off, by the way, for the Giants. Slater, Flores, Wade.
He'll get there. He'll get there in one at bat. No big deal. All right.
That's always
let me finish my team stack thing here, Dean. So I reverse. I go Texas, Boston. Texas, then Boston. My next stacks are, not for the faint of heart because of the pinch hit risk that we've already talked about. But I would say San Fran, Minnesota. Man, I really like San Fran tonight in this matchup.
You're gonna get 8 combined at bats if you stack those two.
Again, Kurt laid the model for you. You look at the guys who, don't typically get pinch hit for, and you can attack that, man. And if everybody else is scared, then everybody else is scared. But, and then Dean, the number 5 is all over the place. I don't even have the Dodgers in that range right there. I'm gonna go Cleveland. I'm gonna go off the radar. I'm gonna go Cleveland because. Well, I felt it firsthand in playing some head-to-heads last night. Some of these guys on Cleveland have the green light to run whenever the hell they want to. So they can rack up some steals. Lynch, he can be run on, even as a left-hander, he can be run on. So I like Cleveland tonight, just general. Speaking of steals, Dean.
Yeah.
Speaking of steals, and I'm not going to attack Cease, but did you know Yasmani Grandal behind the plate, is he catching tonight?
I don't know. Is he a terrible catcher? Is he not a good? He just basically is vulnerable to steal.
I need to see if he's playing catcher. When he catches, you can get. Now Cease is a good pitcher, but you can attack him on the base pass for sure. He's the worst throwing catcher in the big leagues, if indeed he is behind the plate. So actually, he's the second worst, depending on what metric you're looking at. I mean, just for raw numbers, Ruiz from Washington gives up more steals, but on a percentage of when you're behind the plate. Compared to how many times they run on you and your lack of being able to throw them out, he's the worst. So in that case, we're not getting Edmund in there, who would be the stolen base threat. But Goldie and Nootbaar, maybe a little skinny stack there if you want to attack Cease, which I don't. I'm with Kirk. I kind of like him, but if you wanted to go that route.
In 2021, Cease gave up 22 stolen bases. 2022 gave up 10, and this year he's going to 10 in 96 innings. That's terrible. So there you go. That's if you're looking for a tiebreaker, that's a good point. Or if you're just betting stolen base props out there, the St. Louis guys can be kind of sort of somewhat interesting. Kirkwood, here's a good question, and it's something I'm kind of dealing with. Mr. Richard, I'm not making this many lineups. He's making 45 lineups, right, on DraftKings for tournaments. Is it a good strategy to be overweight on Boston and spreading out secondary stacks? Because Boston's going to be really popular, and they have some cheap guys to make stuff work. Of course, the guys really want it kind of pricey. Interesting decision at first base, right? Because you can only play one of Casas or Turner. You can play them both on Fanduel, but they're on DK. They're first base and first base only. Casas significantly cheaper, Turner better. And then Wong and Cheng are just cheap. Like Wong is going to be like the catcher in your stack. He's going to be pretty popular just because he's on Boston and he's cheap. How are you handling Boston, Kirkwood? Because I think that's one of the bigger decision points on this slate.
Man, so I like it, but I'm going to use Boston as a skinny tonight probably because I think they're going to be overowned, right? Like they're in the best spot. And so I get it. And it's good ballpark, good weather. And in all likelihood, they probably put some decent numbers here. They have a monster total, but they're really not that good. And they'll Medina's going to come in, right?
Yeah.
I don't think he's as bad as everyone thinks he is, but anyways, the bottom of the lineup kind of stinks. Some of these guys are gutless. So, I'm going to play Devers. I'm going to play Duvall. I like just taking the guys with the high upside and I think Duran has it just because, he's a triple monster, a double monster, and he also steals and he can hit one out too. But, and then, and maybe Justin Turner or whatever. I don't know. I haven't figured out, but they're definitely overowned tonight because this is not the Atlanta Braves offense. And we're acting.
No one is.
And it's like in Texas, I'd rather play Texas personally, just because I think Trevor Williams is that bad, and I think the Washington bullpen is that bad. And they're both kind of similar spots because Oakland has horrendous bullpen as well. But I just think they're going to be a little overowned, so I'll pivot a little bit to Texas and then try to get some of the other ones, go down to San Francisco, Cleveland, the Dodgers. The Dodgers have monster upside.
Always.
And Griffin Canning is a little better than these other pitching, but their bullpen is terrible too. And then, losing Trout is definitely going to, their morale is, this team is not serious anymore, right? Now that they lost Trout.
Wait until they trade Ohtani.
Yeah. So take advantage. And, if Dodgers are going to be a 5% owned stack compared to the Red Sox at 12%, which is what I'm using off of our RotoGrinders here, are the top stacks and top stack values, team opto percentage tool that we have. But try to beat them, I think. But pick out the bats with the monster upside. Play.
Still
Devers.
waiting for the Angels, by the way. 3 lineups are waiting for the Angels, the Pirates, the Diamondbacks. We're assuming Corbin Carroll is not going to be in there. He hurt himself last night. Looked pretty serious. He left right away. It was a blowout, and he had previous injuries to his elbow as well, or his elbow or shoulder. I think it was his shoulder. Didn't look great. We're assuming that Kyle Lewis takes that spot. Chop, anything else before? Actually, you know what? We do have crunch time. We have TJ Zwarych. We got Dave Potts. We have Kevin Roth. Roth, I'm sure you have a take on this. Shohei Ohtani, he's going bye-bye. He's not going to be staying with the Angels. He can be the greatest free agent of all time, the greatest loaner of all time. You can get an absolute haul. Maybe you can dump Anthony Rendon's contract, package those guys together. But and we want Ohtani in the playoffs, right? That seems like it'd be fun. Why not?
Yeah.
Do you want Ohtani moved?
But the team that gets Ohtani has no leverage over his next contract. Right? It's basically just for the remainder of this year.
It's a loaner, basically. Right. Yeah.
You still
Maybe
do it.
He likes the city and he buys a house and whatever. So now I want to stay here.
Yeah.
But
no, you absolutely do it. I mean, it's pretty clear he's not staying. I think it's clear he's not staying where he's at because that team's a freaking joke. I'm with you. I think they should trade him. I don't know if that's a real thing or if you're just making that up, but they should do it.
It's a real thing, and it's even more real now that Trout's hurt. And according to Fangraphs, the Angels have like a 20% chance to make the playoffs, but that's probably even less now. Dave, you have a thought on that? I'm curious. I'm catching you off guard, but I imagine you have a thought on that as far as Ohtani. And I don't like to sell it to your fan base, but long term, I think it makes sense because how do you sell them? Sorry, we got nothing for the greatest player of all time.
They have to be smart enough to trade him for just get anything. I mean, what's the point?
Yeah,
it would be the dumbest thing ever not to.
Has anyone noticed, looking at all of us right here, Dean kind of looks like that Beetlejuice character, the small head. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Beetlejuice from Howard Stern, or
the haunted hunter guy, like that guy where he turns into that really small, shriveled. Like, is it me? Has everyone noticed this?
This is good insight. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie in 30 years, so I don't know.
There's a remake coming, and a sequel coming, actually.
Great.
They're making a sequel. I don't know who demanded it, but it's happening.
I kind of expect Steve to have some meme up for this momentarily of Dean interchange with that.
Does producer Steve know who or what Beetlejuice is?
No, but he's going to know in the next.
Google Beetlejuice small head, and you'll get some good pictures.
Well, the chat is with you, Kirkwood. They're saying you're right. So the chat is never wrong.
I'll say TJ knows who Beetlejuice. He's an old man now. He's in his 30s. So TJ, if he wasn't aware a week ago, now he knows. You know who Beetlejuice is, right now, TJ?
Oh yeah, I know who Beetlejuice is. I've seen some Michael Keaton in action.
There you go. Dynamite drop in. Chop, we got anything else before we step aside and get out of here? Fanduel sponsored Crunch Time. It's a big boy slate. It's I think it's all three of us, myself, Kirkwood, and Chop, our last show before we step aside for the All-Star break. Of course, there'll be content going down on the weekend, but yeah, Chop, anything else before we yield to Fanduel sponsor Crunch Time?
Nah, we're good. Let them do their job.
I got one last thing to plug. I'm gonna be doing a live casino streams of my slot play to pass the time of the Gen gambling for the week. I'm
for real?
For the All-Star break. So I'm gonna do some degenerate gambling. So look out for Twitter. I'm gonna do some live streams
with commentary. Can I hear you live tilt? Can I hear you cursing the machine and things like that? This machine is gutless.
Yeah, absolutely. That I guarantee you will be in there.
All right.
I was planning on going totally dark offline for the All-Star break, but I'm going to tune in a little bit for that.
I'll tag you, Dave. I'll
Please
tag
do.
you so that.
Yeah.
All right. We got Kevin Roth. We got TJ Zwarych. We got Spidey. We have Dave Potts. Roth, take it away.
Good stuff as always. Welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. It's time. It's crunch time. This show is sponsored by FanDuel. It's the show we bring on two of the sharpest minds in the biz. We got one, Mr. Dave Potts, a.k.a. Cheeseisgood. Cheese, I was literally today looking at buying tickets for when the Angels come to Houston again in like a month and a half. And now I'm like, maybe this is a poor investment.
Yeah.
I only want to see Ohtani. That's the only reason.
Yeah, you should wait. You should wait. Yeah.
Okay. Noted.
You don't want to go watch Taylor Ward in action?
Yeah, believe it or not, don't really care other than that one guy. How are you, Cheese?
I'm doing all right. Got a big kind of difficult-ish slate tonight.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, it's more fun.
Yeah, it's better than 5 games and everyone knows what to play. So
exactly. Yeah, that's good stuff. We got TJ as well. TJ, you just wiping off the exhaustion from your face, but we're happy to have you here, man. How are you?
Trying to pretend I didn't just wake up from a nap and I've just been like ready to go for the whole time. But no, I did my research, wrote the expert survey this morning, got a lot of sun throughout the day, spent some time outside, and then made sure to get my bets in when I got home. So ready to roll for the slate.
Very good. The sun takes it out of you, man. You go outside for like a couple hours and you just you're primed for a nap after that. We do have to talk a little bit of weather here. There are 2 games I'm kind of watching. First is in New York. I guess there's a chance of a delay, but it's low enough that whatever you want to do in New York, whether that be hitters or pitchers, just do it anyways. That sound good, Cheese?
Yep.
Okay. Next game is Washington, and there's nothing immediate on the way, which is good because sometimes when that happens, Washington's like, we're going to late start for 3 hours, and then the game gets postponed, and then I'm ranting on Twitter. But what is starting to happen, and what I expect will continue to happen, is little storms start popping up in the general area. We've seen a few closer to Baltimore than Washington right now. There's going to be a couple more firing up over the next hour or two. There is certainly a chance one of those ends up on the ballpark and we get an early delay. I don't think, especially if they're able to start the game, I don't think this is a scenario where they stick around long enough that one of these little showers or storms causes a postponement. So I guess the question becomes, Cheese, are we interested in pitchers there, or is it just bats in DC?
So it's one of the best hitting games, but like there's the 4K crapper is in that game, the 4K pitcher for Texas. But it's one of those, like, if he goes 2 innings and pitches okay and then gets delayed and out of the game, like he's 4K, that's not much different than what you were getting anyway.
Gotcha.
I'm not changing anything for if he were a 10K pitcher, I might be rethinking it, but I'm not going to bother rethinking it for that.
I love it. I think for a 4K guy, for a tournament stab, I'm imagining he's not a staple of your cash lineups.
No,
here, right? Yeah, I think you just roll with it. Hope the delay doesn't happen. And again, I guess I can't fully rule out the game getting postponed, but I really don't expect it. Oh, we got TJ. We got TJ front and center there. Hey, bud. So that's where I'm at here with the weather. If things change, in particular, if I see one of those storms going up over the ballpark pregame in Washington, that might change some things, but even then I'll probably just say, stick with what you're doing.
It would have to be like, they would have to tell me, hey, we're postponing for me to get off Texas bats.
Okay.
Honestly.
Well, then we're probably sticking with it because I think the game plays regardless. All right. Well, I will keep things, keep a watch on things over the next 40 minutes or so. And we will talk some sports, talk some baseball. Cheese, I keep talking to you. I feel like I'm leaving TJ out, but you want to give me, he's okay with it. He just woke up from a nap.
Yeah, and I mean, he's getting the big screen. Like, we got a big view of him, so he's been
true.
More front center than anyone.
Let Cheese talk, and I'll just do my best to look good.
Okay, that's what you do best. Great, that's right. All right, Cheese. Give me an overview of the slate. I feel like I'm already picking up bits and pieces just from context clues, but give me an overview, and then we'll dive into pitchers.
Yeah, so essentially, there's like a dozen very good pitchers without any like super elite can't miss pitchers. And it's pretty jumbled in that I could see you ranking like 7 or 8 guys first in your personal list today. I do have a kind of narrowed down pool, and I'm leaving a bunch of good pitchers out, but there's a bunch that you are allowed to play, and a couple cheap guys you're allowed to throw darts at. And then on the offensive side, it's basically Boston chalk, Texas chalk, kind of Dodgers spend up chalk, and then just this huge random mess of everything's okay, and you can make a tournament case for it.
Okay. Do you want to just jump into who these unnamed gents are for me?
Sure do. Okay. So pitcher wise, what I am doing, I am not playing Corbin Burns. I have one Corbin Burns in like 40 lineups. I'm not playing Yu Darvish. I'm not playing Justin Verlander. I'm not playing Carlos Rodon. I'm not playing Aaron Savali. I'm not playing Bailey Ober. Those are all good pitchers. You are allowed to play all of those guys. And in fact, I think like the bat would probably be telling you to play Burns and Savali as the cash game combo. And I'm not playing either of them like at all. But they're all everyone's that close. So personally, they miss my cut. I'm playing Abbott, Gallen, and Hunter Brown as my main 3, with Louis Castillo and Dylan Cease as my next 2. So those 5 are my core. Mm-hmm. Again, Abbott, Gallen, Brown, Castillo, Cease. And then where I need something cheap, we've got the 4K Cody Bradford on DK. We have no idea what he's going to do, but he has thrown 90 pitches twice this season, including like 2 weeks ago. So it's not like this is not some definite 2-inning guy. Like there is moderate upside. The other cheap guy that I am throwing darts at is Jamison Tyone. He is not what he used to be, but he's still pretty good against righties, and the Yankees are kind of out of lefties. So I like Tyone and Bradford as cheap guys, and that is it for me.
Let's say you're doing a cash build real quick, Cheese. Is there, because it seems like those 5 guys that you mentioned, you don't feel too strongly about
I
you
would
love?
play Gallon and Hunter Brown in cash.
Okay, very good. And then on FanDuel, you only get one. Jerry Berg in the YouTube chat says, "Who's your FanDuel cash pitcher?"
Zach Gallen.
Okay, excellent stuff.
And
TJ,
and if you need the other $1,100, I'm totally fine with Hunter Brown there.
okay, great. TJ, what are your thoughts here, tournament-wise, as you look at this slate as it pertains to pitching?
It's one of these rare slates that I'm going to be mixing and matching a ton of different pitchers and just keeping it really tight with the stacks, really just playing only a few stacks today, which is weird considering how big of a slate it is. But it's one of those ones where I don't have a solid lean for any specific pitcher, really. I agree Zach Gallen is the top option. I like Andrew Abbott and Luis Castillo and Brown really as well up top for tournaments. And then down low, I really like going with either of the 4K pitchers, Bradford or Walter, with Bradford being by far my favorite option there. And like, I think even in a single entry type stuff, you can take that shot. Jamison Tyon going up against the lineup without very many lefties, I think is okay as well. So I'm kind of on the same page for the guys up top, but I think I'm more likely to go quite a bit heavily overweight on Tyon, Bradford, and even a little Brandon Walter.
Okay, excellent. Any other names you want to throw in there, or you feel that about covers your pitching plans?
That pretty much covers it. Like the entirety of my pool is Abbott, Gallen, Castillo, Brown, Burns, Cease, Ober, Savali, Tyon, Bradford, Walter. But I would say like same guys that Cheese mentioned. Like,
and what's crazy, like I feel the same way TJ does, is like he just named a ton of names, and yet that's still actually a narrowed down pool. Given how many pitchers are on this slate. Like even rattling off that many names, there's still a bunch of good pitchers that weren't mentioned there.
Wow. Okay. So I assume ownership, not a huge concern. I'm kind of looking at the FanDuel ownership numbers here, and nobody above 20%.
Yeah, I don't see ownership being a thing at all.
That's great.
Like even on DK, I don't think anyone hits 30%. So yeah, just play who you want. I would not worry about it.
Very nice.
Play whoever you want.
Play whoever you want. That's Blender. If you have no idea what that's Blender. He works here. He's a character. TJ, let's talk about some of the stacks here.
Play whoever you want. Play whoever.
Well, we got. That was actually the clip of him saying it. Can we do that again?
Whatever you want. Play wherever you want.
Oh God. See, I wasn't exaggerating. You really don't sound like that. TJ, let's talk about the stacks. I assume Texas was already been brought up as maybe kind of a core play there, but what else do we like?
Yeah, so in terms of offenses today, the chalk will be Boston. I don't think it's going to be obscene, crazy, terribly. You got to make sure to fade all the time because they're so highly owned chalk. But they're going to be the highest owned team on the slate. They got a total up over 6. They're playing Oakland, and they're a terrible starting set of pitchers as well as terrible bullpen. And it's outside of that pitcher's park in Oakland, and it's over in Fenway. So Boston's the top offense on the slate, followed by Texas. I'm not, like I mentioned, I'm going to be trying to mix and match the pitchers today. And so those are still going to be the two teams I'm heavily targeting the most. I like Arizona, even though they really heavily let me down yesterday. Chat was giving it to me a little bit, and Steve knows. Steve was putting up the video clips today. I liked Arizona stack all the way with some Ryan Nelson shots in tournaments. Or Ryan Nelson got absolutely lit up, and the Arizona put a big old 0 spot up on the Mets. I think I finished last in my single entry yesterday.
I mean, if you're not going to win, you might as well.
It doesn't matter. What does it matter if I'm just under the cash line or if I'm dead last place? So beauty about DFS is a different lineup. It's a different night every slate. So different slate every night. I like, if we're getting, those are the big 3 teams for me. It goes Boston 1, Texas 2, followed by Arizona's 3. But for tournaments, I like getting to a little bit of San Francisco. I like getting to the White Sox quite a bit in tournaments, more as a mini stack than a full stack. The Padres are a team I really like today as well. And even though we like taking some shots on Tyon, I also like taking some shots on Yankee stacks.
Very nice. Producer Steve saying, if you ain't first, you're last. And like, it really is an important mentality in DFS and in baseball in particular. Like, I just keep playing these donkey lineups that get me middle of the field and go nowhere. Like you got to take shots, you got to take stabs and do bold things. Cheese, I want to hear your thoughts on stacks. And I am wildly parched, so I'm going to be rude in the middle of the show and get up and get water because I may die 5 minutes from now if I don't. Is that cool?
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's rude to not die.
Well, it would be
very
rude to die on the
of you.
show. Yeah, I generally don't just leave my own show, but I'll be right back.
No, we're rooting for you. Well, so yeah, I'll talk stacks while you do that. Same basic group as what TJ said. Boston and Texas are the very obvious top two, but still not so chalky. I think it matters. And then Arizona and the Dodgers are my next little group. Again, nothing sneaky there, but
Dodgers too. I forgot to mention them, but they're probably my third favorite team on the slate. My bad there.
It's but like I think all four of those teams get enough spread out that kind of like with the pitching, I'm just not worrying about ownership. And then really it's just a whole bunch of, I can throw some darts at this and that. Officially, the things I have the most of are the Royals, the Reds, and the Padres.
Yeah, I like that. That's kind of similar vein to where I am today with the stacks. And like for the size of the slate it is, I feel like that's the biggest difference is it's like for a single entry, there's like 3 to 5 teams I'm considering. And for even a 20 to 150 entry max, I think there'd be like 6, 7, 8 stacks I'd really trying to be honing in on. Probably like a smaller stack pool genuinely than my overall pitcher pool. Yeah,
it's just a strange slate. There's all these teams that like you can make a case for. You can see how, the Cardinals and the White Sox and the Twins and the Yankees and the Orioles.
Were the Mets brought up? We got Jeff.
Yeah, the Mets, absolutely. Like they're all in this bucket, and the Giants, like, yes, these are all pretty decent plays, but not decent enough to like hone in on for any reason.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. I think the people want some plays because they basically want you to build the entire lineup. That's what we're here to do. We're going to help them out at least. So, Cheese, why don't we dive into it with a little catcher talk, if you don't mind, sir?
I do not mind. There's a lot of positions today where there's a couple of very clear top plays that are like wildly expensive. And then the mid tier is kind of blah. And then there's some weird cheap stuff that it kind of starts at catcher where like Will Smith is far and away the best play, like by a lot, but he's $5,700 and you only get so many spends on this slate. I do kind of like mid-tier catchers. I like Jonah Heim a lot. I like Salvador Perez. William Contreras is the one bat I'm targeting against Abbott. I think, Connor Wong will be the chalk as a cheap guy. But feel free to play Langelier. And I like Carson Kelly as a cheap guy as well.
Okay. TJ, your thoughts at catcher?
My thoughts are that we are 8 likes away from Spidey Bomb number 1. So keep hitting that like button. And we got well over 600 people watching. So we should easily be able to get this up over 200, get ourselves at least 2 to 3 Spidey Bombs today. So keep hitting that like button. And we got some home run picks for you. The one of our first ones yesterday was Gunnar Henderson, who doubled on. So Spidey Bombs are back. And our first one is at the catcher position, actually. And it's the spend up at the spot, Will Smith. You can find him for plus 550 to hit a home run on Draftkings or on Caesars today. He's plus 390 over on Fanduel. That's probably pretty close to what he should be, but we got him projected on Scores and Odds for plus 245, and you can get him for plus 550 over on Caesars. So great home run bet, and he is Spidey Bomb number 1. I got another really high odd one for us when we get to 200 likes, so make sure we do that. It's really, to me, like if I'm spending all the way up at Smith and if I'm punting, it's Wong in terms of optimally. Langelier, I don't think I'm really going to get to very much because like we're kind of projecting him similarly in terms of ownership to Wong. And I feel like I would just rather get to Wong in that spot in terms of the bat projections. But then you go to Plate IQ and Wong is almost going to be tripling him today. So that's probably more accurate. But you got Smith, Wong, and Heim, top 3 options here. Francisco Alvarez has homered 3 days in a row now. I told somebody I'm not interested in playing him the other day. yesterday, and then he got his third straight homer. So shout out to Alvarez. He's been on a tear. Don't mind the Carson Kelly call, and although I'm not on a Cub stack, and Carlos Rodon is really good, even though he's coming off of injury, I think when you got a guy like Yan Gomes who's batting in the cleanup spot today at 3,400, you can absolutely, if you land on him, as a one-off.
Very good. I want your thoughts at first, but first we should note that over on our sponsor site, FanDuel, it's like a first base catcher meld position. And by the way, make sure you're signing up for the FanDuel Sportsbook. If you're in a legal sports betting state, take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. New customers can bet $20 and you get 200 clams, smackaroos, bones in your hand in bonus bucks. Terms and conditions do apply for that. TJ, what are we doing at first?
Yeah, first base today. Nate Lowe is probably my favorite play here, and probably most people's favorite plays. I see we got Cheese and Bobby and a couple other people here who have Lowe tag today, and he's just in a great spot. All of these lefties are, all of Texas, but especially these lefties here, and so he's in a great spot. Anthony Rizzo has really been struggling, but Taillon is just awful against lefties, and so I still think Rizzo is absolutely in play here. Pete Alonso makes for a very interesting contrarian spend-up option today. Mid-tier to save some salary, I really like Ryan O'Hearn. And then if you need to full-out punt, I think Ryan Noda's fine, but Tristan Cassis would probably be my favorite.
Okay, very good. Interesting question here. I'll get back to – now I'm just going to say it. Cheese, any love for San Fran versus Gomber? We do have 25-mile-per-hour winds blowing out in San Francisco. I will note, and I always do, that is the least wind-sensitive park, or the most wind-resistant park in baseball. But Cheese, any interest there?
Yeah, they're very much in that second tier. After those top four teams, it's a glob of everything, and they are very much in that glob. Mm-hmm. We just got the lineup. Just again, massive, huge shout out to the team that projects lineups for RG. To get that Giants lineup guessed correctly and in the correct order 1 through 9 is remarkable, and someone should get a raise right now. Congrats. I've been told that Kevin Roth does the lineups now.
I did it.
I do like the Giants. I do like the Giants. But
first base.
Anyhow, first base. The spend ups are fine, but that mid tier is just really strong on both sides. Nate Lowe's a little too cheap. Anthony Rizzo's a little too cheap. Christian Walker is a little too cheap on FanDuel. So guys like Freddie Freeman and Goldschmidt and then Ohtani on DK, it's just they're really not necessary because of how good that mid tier is. Mostly with Lowe, Justin Turner, Rizzo, and then Walker on FanDuel.
Okay. By the way, Napster Man getting the love for. I think it's a team that
it's a team, but Napster is definitely on that team for sure. Yeah.
TJ's on the team as well. We gotta get our guy a raise. TJ on the team as well,
and that's why his picture gets zoomed in.
That's it. Second base, Cheese. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Okay. So this is the weird one. You've got Mookie Betts, Marcus Semien, and Ketel Marte, who are all three crazy expensive on DK and kind of expensive on FanDuel. It's a little easier to get to Semien or Marte on FanDuel, and I do like that. But like the mid tier is kind of dead. Gleyber Torres is cheap enough on FanDuel if you want to play him, that's fine. But otherwise, it would be like Andres Jimenez or like Nolan Gorman. I just don't like anything other than Betts, Semien, Marte. So I'd rather just full on punt. DK, that's Jordan Diaz, maybe Michael Massey. Basically it's all the way up or all the way down in most lineups at second base.
Okay, very good. TJ, your thoughts at second?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I do really like Jordan Diaz batting second, 2.1K. That's very interesting to me. Even Jordan Westberg at 3.2, but up batting fifth. Ober's great, but Westberg has been an exciting young player who's been batting seventh, eighth, ninth in that lineup, and he's up to fifth today. So I got some interest there. Same with Tony Kemp leading off. I'd rather go Diaz, but I think Kemp is fine. I love playing a guy like that who, when he leads off, and he basically seems to steal a base anytime he gets on first. So I like him quite a bit. I think you can play Tim Anderson or Nolan Gorman, even Brendan Donovan in the mid-tier, but I also really like Hassan Kim. I think the Padres are a very interesting tournament stack today going up against Verlander. And Kim leading off, I think, is a very interesting tournament play.
Okay, great. How about second base? Nope. How about third base?
Devers is the top play on the slate, especially over on DraftKings. Like, he's 4,900, and he is, even from a raw points perspective, to me, like among the very top plays on the slate. Even on Fanduel 37, he's not tough to get to either, but he's just underpriced, and he's in a phenomenal spot going up against Oakland. They got a lefty opening. I don't care. Devers can smash lefties as well, and then he's got Medina afterwards. So he's the top play on the slate. Jose Ramirez, Max Muncy, Gunnar Henderson, Josh Jung, all of these guys are fine after him, but he would be the one that I would prioritize the most. In the mid-tier range, kind of going cheaper, I don't mind going to a Miguel Garcia in the leadoff spot. But there also are some very interesting tournament plays here that I don't think many people are going to be getting to. Christopher Morel batting fifth now with third base eligibility. JD Davis going up against Austin Gomber, even Josh Donaldson going up against Tyon. So there are some very strong plays up top like Devers, but there also are some really good players that aren't going to be getting much ownership today. So I do think this is one of the better spots to get a little bit different in tournaments.
Okay. Cheese, do you like those thoughts at third?
Yeah, really. I mean, the spend ups are pretty great, and not even as expensive as the second baseman, who are not really quite as good. So yes, Devers clearly first, and Jose Ramirez, Muncy, Josh Young would be my next trio. But then also like Arenado, Gunnar Henderson, Manny Machado.
Machado is the one I forgot to mention that I also really like.
So that's a ton. That's like 7 really good third basemen you can spend on. I also like Miguel Garcia is probably my favorite starting to go cheaper guy. And then Jake Berger in that same range, along with JD Davis, would be the other guys I'm looking at.
Okay, great. Then how about shortstop?
Yeah, how about it? Corey Seager. Moving on. No, shortstop's loaded, and there's a lot. I love Corey Seager. He's my top play on the slate. If I only get one guy, if I just have to play 2 pitchers and a hitter and then just take zeros, I'll go with Seager. But like on FanDuel, both Betts and Tatis are shortstops, and they're obviously awesome. And then Bobby Witt and Carlos Correa are like a whole pricing tier below them. So that's 5 pretty great shortstops on FanDuel. So I don't think you need to goof around so much on the FanDuel side. On the DK side, you might have to goof around because you don't have Betts or Tatis, and Seager's 6,200. And even Witt and Correa are expensive-ish. So I think it's actually much more interesting to play Michael Garcia at shortstop on DK, where he's 3,400. And then you have Kiki Hernandez at 28 as the going all the way cheap. That he'll be popular-ish, but probably not too bad.
Okay, great. TJ, your thoughts at short?
I really like the Kike Hernandez call, batting 6th today. Anthony Volpe is another really cheap option that I don't mind getting to today, but I agree on the Corey Seager call. Like, that's a what? Yeah, I just want to say his name. Is that what you said?
Who's a cute little Volpe? He's a cute little Volpe.
Sorry, carry on.
I played him yesterday too. That didn't go so well. But yeah, Corey Seager is one of the top bats on the slate. I like Carlos Correa as kind of a mid-tier option. If I need to get cheaper, Volpe would be my favorite guy to do it with, but I don't mind the Miguel Garcia, even like a JP Crawford if you really need it. But Volpe would be my priority. Getting cheaper, Kike Hernandez is my top option. But like, I don't mind playing a CJ Abrams at leadoff whatsoever. I think that's very interesting, even though it's a lefty-lefty. And then even Vargas batting 5th today for Washington. If you want to double spend up at pitcher, there's some of these Washington guys who are very cheap in very good lineup spots that they aren't usually in. So I think they actually do, even though I like Bradford for tournaments, he'll probably be the pitcher I'm like the most overweight to the field on. I also really like the Giants for the lineups that I want to double pay up at pitcher.
Nice. Okay. How about the outfield? What do we got?
The Nats. Sorry, not the Nats. Not the Giants. I meant the Nats. The Giants.
Okay. You mean the Nationals, not the Giants, right?
Yeah, I like the Giants anyways, but I did not mean to say them in the context of that sentence.
Makes sense. Okay, very good. How about the outfield? What do we like there?
We finally get an interesting case of the Angels doing something I think they should have been doing all season long, and that is batting Shohei Ohtani leadoff. I think they should have been going, even when Trout was healthy, put Ohtani 1, get him in there as much as possible. Trout 2.
They should put him at every spot in the lineup, honestly.
Yeah, that's what I would
1 through 9.
Yeah, and so like this time they got Ohtani, Ward, Moniak, and I feel like to me that makes so much more sense than anything that they've been doing. And so from a tournament standpoint, Ohtani is my top bat on the slate. I really love Devin Seager, but everybody really loves Devin Seager. Ohtani is a guy that I want to spend up on that not many people are doing today. Like it'll be higher than this, but we're currently projecting Ohtani for 3% ownership. It won't be 3. It'll be higher than 3. But Betts and Tatis and Adolis Garcia, all these guys are probably going to be Byron Buxton. All these guys are going to be higher owned today. And to me, Ohtani is the best one out of all of them this year. So he's my top option today in the outfield for tournaments. How many likes are we at here? Because Spidey Bum number 2 is in the outfield. 13 likes away. So keep hitting that like button so we can get 200 and get Spidey Bum number 2. Outfield is just super, super deep today. Like, it's tough because I do like Boston, and I like Adam Duvall quite a bit. But if Adam Duvall is going to be the highest owned outfielder on the slate today, and I really don't mind some of these other guys like Giancarlo Stanton in his price tier, Eloy Jimenez and Luis Robert, who I love for tournaments today. I think there's some very strong guys that you can get a little bit different with in tournaments. And you don't necessarily have to play an almost 30% owned Jarren Duran today. Like, he's a guy that you absolutely want to get in cash, but I think there are a lot of strong offense that you can pivot with today. Austin Slater is another cheap option that I like quite a bit. You got the pinch hit risk, but I think he's still a strong option. I mentioned going with some Washington stacks or mini stacks. Stone Garrett at 2.5K. Batting cleanup today is just an absolutely phenomenal spot against Bradford. You need to punt with a little bit of Willie Castro or Kyle Lewis. I'm all good with that too. So Billy McKinney, another guy, lefty against Tyon. Sign me up anytime there's a lefty against Tyon. So very deep position today. And I think similar to third base, I feel similarly where it's like there's some great plays that are chalk, but there's also some great plays that aren't chalk. So there's some awesome pivots.
Excellent. All right, Cheese, what are your thoughts and your favorite plays there?
Yeah, similar general thought that, yeah, the Red Sox are great, but Duvall on Fanduel and Duran on DK are probably the 2 highest owned plays on the slate, and they're not the 2 best outfielders on the slate. Like, I like them and they're good, but yeah, there are better players than them. I like right in the same pricing tier. Some of the same names TJ mentioned, like, Eloy Jimenez instead of Duvall. Get up to Luis Robert. I like those White Sox guys. I totally agree on the Ohtani thing, and I think you can say the same thing about Tatis. Like, the high-end ownership will go mostly to, like, Adolis Garcia and Betts and Red Sox. So you've just got some superstar players that are just going to fall under the radar. As far as cheap stuff, it's more of a DK thing because, like, on FanDuel, like, even Buxton's pretty cheap, 3,500, but you go down to, like, Stanton at 3K, and you don't have to goof around too much. If you want to put one cheap guy in there, it's fine, but, like, the cheap stuff is like 25 to 2,700, and you're getting really good players at 3K. So I'm mostly saving the punts for DK. Also on Billy McKinney and Stone Garrett, who TJ mentioned. There's something else. Like Michael Taylor, MJ Melendez. There's all kinds of things, but those are the ones that are kind of sticking out to me.
Okay, very good. We do want to get some home run picks, but first, a couple of people have asked for weather updates. Some people just showing up. So let me run through it real quick. In New York, there's a low chance of a delay. Play hitters, play pitchers. I don't think the delay is even going to happen there. In Washington, there's just going to be a few pop-up storms. So far, everything has stayed away from the ballpark. I'm increasingly convinced that will continue to be the case through the night. but there is a legitimate chance of delay there. It just takes one storm popping up, over the ballpark. That could certainly happen. I think bats are going to be fine either way. And again, I'm increasingly convinced that maybe they just avoid those little pop-up storms. And then in Chicago, I had someone ask, is Chicago going to play? Is there going to be a delay? If you just look at radar right now, there's this massive rain moving that way, and it looks kind of scary. But every forecast model fades that rain out as it moves in, so that by the start of the game, it's just a sprinkle. I expect they just play a little wet. They might late start and then just play dry. But those are the outcomes: is either play on time and get a little bit of rain and then it dries out, or late start for it to be fully dry and then play. But either way, I don't expect an in-game delay, and I think the game's going to be fine. Also, we're trying to get some more likes here for Spidey Bombs, but I am requesting a retroactive like for my call yesterday in Cleveland. We had the best pitcher on the slate in Cleveland. I don't even know if he did any good, but I was very confident that he was going to play and that the game was going to play, and that's exactly what happened. And I just
the weather was better than the pitcher, but yeah, good on you though.
The weather.
It's not your fault that he wasn't terrible, but that's not your fault that he didn't have a great game.
Sorry he didn't get it done. But I was just
finished last in my single entry GPP yesterday, and it was all your fault.
Yeah, damn it. But I don't know. I felt good about that call. It was a difficult call, but I felt 100% confident. And when I feel 100% confident in things, I like to let you guys know about that. So I request a like, even if he sucked. Don't give me a thumbs down for him sucking. Thumbs up for my forecast. That's all.
Yeah, we have reached enough likes for Spidey Bomb number 2. And so I got a very, very contrarian high odd one coming if we get up to 250 likes. But this is just one of my favorite set of odds on the slate, and one of my favorite DFS plays. Luis Robert. Really, really like him anytime he's facing a lefty, and he is today. So Luis Robert you can get for plus 450 on FanDuel Sportsbook, our wonderful sponsor. And he had over a plus 300 ISO against left-handed pitching so far this year, and nobody's playing him. So I love me some Luis Robert today.
Sometimes I feel like when you're watching the screen, producer Steve, I'm giving shout out to the people doing the lineups. I feel like he has the Spidey Bomb up there, right as TJ finishes saying the name. It's truly incredible.
Yeah, and producer Steve,
he is
best
from
in
the future.
biz. Yeah, he's from the future. Luis Robert was actually my bomb cyclone call of the day. So now we're doubling up on Luis Robert. So I like our chances.
Oh, now we definitely got to make some bets and get him in our lineups.
Got to get him in there. Cheese, you got a home run pick for us?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a bomb cyclone or what. Let's try to find something different. There's a bunch of obvious ones. But
anytime he says that, they hit a home run. Literally anytime he's like, I'm gonna get something weird today, whether it be JJ Bleday in his very first game in the season, or a couple other random guys he's done it with. But this always works.
Yeah, I don't have anything that good. That was definitely my favorite one. Michael Massey.
Okay, very good, excellent. That gives us roughly 7-8 minutes here until lock, and I think we should take some QQs. Again, make sure you're hitting us with that thumbs up. Let me jump into the RG Discord where all the cool kids are hanging out. I'm scrolling up a wee bit. Cheese Flores on FanDuel at first. W Flores, that will.
I can't really see using him there outside of a full giant stack.
Okay. Cheese, right back to you. Mullins, Morel. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Mullins, Morel, or Duvall in the outfield. DK straight up.
I mean, it's definitely Duvall.
All right. DK GPP. TJ, this is a 3v3. Gallon, Turner, and Jordan Diaz, or Hunter Brown, Casas, and Jimenez.
First one.
Right back to you. TJ, FanDuel Cash, Jay Diaz, and Nate Lowe, or Kiki and Stone Garrett.
First one. The Lowe and Diaz one.
Man, I just love Stone Garrett so much. It's like one of the best names in baseball. DK outfielder, 2,600 or less. Cheese, making you work. Who do you like?
2,600 or less. There's actually a handful of names there. I mean, Stone Garrett jumps to mind, honestly. I have to scroll.
I was going to say that was the perfect opportunity to just Stone Garrett right after Roth said that one because he's 2,500, and it's probably either he or McKinney.
I think it is Stone Garrett. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. Penny says, "Hey guys, I'm late. Is Texas safe weather-wise? That would be the game in DC, correct?"
Correct.
Yeah. Like safe, I'm not going to use safe, but it's safe enough. I would not fade it in any format. So I can't promise you safe, but I like your chances.
You just said, I won't say it's safe, but it's safe. So
yeah,
that's tough.
But like sometimes, sometimes shit just goes wrong. It just like a storm pops up and it just ruins your night. But it's always possible, but not too likely. DKGPP Cheese, this is for you. This is a confusing question. 5-2-1 Texas, Boston, Oakland. The 3v3 is Seager, Kike, and Jankowski versus Change, Duran, and Tavares.
Chang. There's a guy named Chang for Boston. Definitely Seager, Kiki, Jankowski.
Okay, very good. DK single entry GPP. I'll come back to you, TJ. Burns, Savali, or Cease Ober?
I guess Burns Savali because the Bat Bullet really likes that side.
Okay, Dan Jan, what are your thoughts on a red stack tonight in a DK single entry? And is Cease Bradford for pitching too cute?
I have a Cease Bradford red stack, and I'm pretty sure it's in a single entry. I love all of that, honestly.
Wow.
And it's not too cute for me now.
Very good. All right, DK Cash Cheese, you think Hunter Brown over Burns and Cash is nuts? Who would you choose? You said it wasn't nuts if you wanted the extra cash.
I mean, I said I just simply like Hunter Brown better, period.
There you go. It's not nuts at all. We like it. We approve of this. TJ, do you like Ober with a watered-down O's lineup?
I think that's totally fine.
DKGPP, TJ, 3v3, Bradford, Jung, Duvall, or Tyon, Devers, Tavares?
Bradford, Jung, Duvall.
Justin says, Cheese, what are your thoughts on using all three outfield slots on Red Sox? This is a DK Cash question. So Duvall, Hernandez, Duran.
In cash, that's fine. Yeah, I don't think you can really have too many Red Sox in cash. So I wouldn't worry about it.
Favorite SP2 on DK. Again, we're going back to your boy Hunter Brown, right? Because there was a dude, and then he was the next one, I think.
Yeah, I mean, for me in cash, it would be Gallen and Hunter Brown.
All right. Let's see here. We got about 4 minutes. Lightning round, Cheese, Turner or Low, FanDuel Cash?
Low.
FanDuel single entry, TJ, you like our guy McMahon as a one-off?
It's fine.
Yeah, all right. Scrolling into the YouTube chat here. Make sure you're hitting us with that thumbs up. We better have had 500 likes by now. I personally asked for likes for nailing weather calls. I want 500 likes or I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to stop making all the good weather calls. I won't. I'll still do it. I get paid to do it. DK Cash, TJ, Duvall, Jimenez, or Betts, Diaz? Diaz being the Oakland version.
Duvall, Jimenez.
Mark says, is Montgomery he's not cutting it on this slate, Cheese?
There's just too many good pitchers. No, but like I said at the beginning, like there's at least a dozen pitchers that you're not doing anything wrong if they're in your pool. He misses mine. Okay. Same with Darvish. I see a question about Darvish. Like, of course you can play you Darvish, but like there's too many pitchers ahead of him on my list personally.
Gotcha. All right. Rukin says TJ Washington's Vargas and Ryan O'Hearn or Kike and Joey Meneses. This is DK Lotto. So GPP, I assume.
I like the second one a little bit better.
Very good. Last man in, TJ Castillo or Brown, DK single entry?
Brown.
Derek Waters says, Cheese, can somebody tell me why I didn't take Glass now? 12 Ks at plus 900. Yeah, I like that. He's good, right?
Glass now is great at getting strikeouts. That's his whole thing.
Right.
But no, I cannot tell you why you didn't do that or why you would have or anything about that.
Right. We cannot quite get inside
6 strikeouts in 2 innings.
He what?
He's got 6 strikeouts in 2 innings. I think that's why they brought it up. He struck out the side on the Braves twice in a row.
Still probably doesn't get to 12.
Yes, 12 is still a lot, but I mean, good job, Glass. Now I like that dude. Soto or Robert? Last piece, TJ. Oh, we love Robert, but it's Soto.
Robert. No, it's Robert.
It's Robert anyway.
I meant it's like I didn't mean the answer Soto. I just meant that dude's good. It's Soto.
How dare you try and tell me it's Soto when it's not?
That's not what I was saying. By the way, I hate Soto.
Stick to the weather. What are you doing?
Weatherman. Let's see what else we got here. Cheese, Duval Jimenez or Betts Deep. We did that one. Wait, I'm scrolling down. Like, we have done an amazing job getting all of the questions, and we are less than a minute until lock. I feel like that is perfectly done. Low or Turner DK Cash, Cheese, for Eric Leibovich.
I prefer Low, but like those are the two guys that you're allowed to choose from. I don't think you're wrong either way.
Nice.
You're allowed to choose from. Who are you, Cardi?
Yes. Anything else is you're an idiot. You should never play again. Cardi. Dan Jan says, looking forward to sharing first with Cheese. I guess he was the one who did the
That's
same.
that red stack, yeah. We'll chop it up.
T from Loke says, where can I get my stick to weather, the RG stick to the weather t-shirt? Please don't.
That's actually a great idea. We got to get one of those.
Honestly, it stopped. Like the first few years I did this, I got so much like, what is this weatherman doing? Talking about, you could put in literally anything I talked about.
That's because everyone knows who you are now.
Yeah, I guess so. Or I've just had enough stupid takes in various sports that now people are over it. They're like, all right, he's just going to do that.
No, it's because you're a celebrity now, and people just want to. They're not like, who's this weather guy? They're like, please, weather guy, help me build my lineups.
Yeah, one of the first RG parties we had, I brought my wife, and she could not get over how many people were like, you're Kevin Roth, you're the weatherman. It was the coolest I've ever felt in my life, like by a mile. I felt pretty special. Cool little niche I've carved out in this community. Let's see if we got anything else. Kike or Slater, Cheese? FanDuel Cash, last spot.
Kiki.
Chuck says, well, if you block everybody who says something critical, of course you're not getting back. That's true. I am quick with the black button these days, man. I don't. If you want to be a smart ass, you just.
I feel similar. I get if someone says one mean thing, they're on mute immediately, and so I feel like nobody's mad at me anymore.
Yeah,
and they might be yelling at me. I just don't see them.
Yeah, I used to not do that, but then I was like, wait, my life is so much better when I don't have to listen to a-holes all the time. And it's amazing what a small percentage of people bring like so much negativity. You just cut out like those 10 people and then your feed is way better. That's true. They saw the guns. They stopped talking trash. All right. We are our Berm says, I might buy tickets to an Angels Astros game just for the chance to see Kevin Roth. I might be there, especially
that would be amazing.
Yeah, if Otani's there, I'll be there. Hey, with that, we are gonna get on out of here. Yeah, I think we're all caught up. Let's do it. So for Cheese, for TJ, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.